You want to know what's really happening? When I started this channel, I knew at some point this country was going to come to a reckoning. This country was founded, the foundation of this democracy, well, what we believe to be a democracy, it's really not, is slave owners wrote the Constitution. People that owned human beings because they looked different on the outside. They treated them as cattle. And they said only 21-year-old land-owning white men had the right to vote or have rights in this country. And that black people weren't even considered an entire person. They were only 3/5 of a person. Fast forward 150 years, the 1920s, finally, women are allowed the right to vote. That's so nice of you. That's so nice. How nice of you. And then in the 1960s, after almost 200 years of being a great Christian nation, you allowed black people to vote and have equal rights. Wow, that's so nice. It only took lynchings and slavery and Black Wall Street and Martin Luther King being assassinated. But you know, at least we got there, America, right? Because we're such a great Christian nation. And then the tipping point for this country, a man named Barack Obama sat behind the Resolute desk. And that was a bridge too far for the Confederacy. That triggered them. They could not understand why somebody that was picking cotton in their great-grandparents' fields was sitting in the White House. In their wills, it would say, I handed over this, black person as property to my sister, to my aunt, to my grandma. It's in wills. I've seen it. And that really triggered him. So we went from him for 2 terms to a guy that's a racist, a guy that mistreats women, a man who can't stay faithful to his wife. But why is that? Because he promised them that their version of white America, that he would bring it back. It's very simple. If Kamala Harris was a white man, she would have won by 30 points. There is a reason that this country has never had a woman president, even though 50% of our country comprise of women. Because the original founding fathers baked in misogyny and racism into this country. And there's this false idea that somehow the North won the Civil War. Maybe on the battlefield. We've been fighting it ever since. That ideology, that idea of white Christian nationalism has never gone away. For a couple hundred years, that group of people has gone along with democracy and free and fair elections until they noticed that their white majority was going away, that their power was going away, that people that weren't straight white Christians, they weren't 21-year-old land-owning slave owners, white men slave owners, were taking power. We're sitting in the Oval Office. We're sitting in the Senate. That scares the hell out of them. Look at what Kevin McCarthy said last year. The Democrats look like America. And we're not even talking dog whistles. You have President Musk doing the Yahtzee salute. You have the Orange Felon having dinner with Nick Fuentes, a proud white nationalist. You have him not running to black people in New York. You have him saying that you're not Jewish if you don't vote for me. He said, I don't want black people doing my taxes. I want the Jewish people to do it. He supported Madison Hawthorne, who went down to Mustache Man's compound, supported him. And again, and again, and again. There's a reason that they don't want to celebrate Black History Month, Native History Month, Pride Month, Asian History Month. There's a reason they're banning books in schools about slavery, about equality. Because they want to dumb down America, and they only want to teach about white history. That's what's really happening here. And they're going to hide behind religion. And if necessary, they will go to violence, as they did on January 6th. They will. They'll justify it. They'll just all the immorality, because that's what white Christian nationalists do. And so I'm clear, there is nothing Christian about what these people do. It is merely a shield so they can justify their immorality, to take control of their America. Isn't it interesting how they always want to talk about the Second Amendment, even though they're not a well-regulated militia, but they never want to talk about the 3/5 clause? You ever notice that? That's not by accident, that's by design. Because they don't want their children to learn about that. This is about power. They will wipe their backsides with the Constitution if it means that they keep their white majority in power. That's all this is. We can talk about politics and taxes. If Harris would have cured cancer, if she would have stopped global warming, there's a part of this country that wouldn't vote for her regardless, just because she was a black woman. And when you listen to people talk about her, the number one thing I hear about as to why they didn't vote for her, I mean, there's a lot of crazy answers out there, but the number one thing is her cackle, her laugh. So a well-educated black woman who was extremely intelligent, who was a lawyer, who served in all three branches of government, who's not a felon, who hasn't been found liable for sexual abuse, who hasn't committed tax fraud, who hasn't cheated on her spouses, who hasn't been married 3 times, who hasn't led an insurrection. Oh, she's just, you don't like her cackle, so we're going to vote for the convicted felon who sexually assaults women because he's going to maintain the white patriarchy. That's what America is. And until we address it, it's never going to get better in this country. Everything else is just smoke and mirrors. That's what this country is. That's what's baked into this. Because enough people that look like me throughout the course of our history didn't speak out because it didn't affect them. And what you're going to see now is the people that voted for him, they still share his values. And they might complain and be upset because they're losing their jobs, or the eggs are too high, or SNAP benefits. But I guarantee you, if he ran again, if he was legally allowed to, they would vote for him again. Don't kid yourself. It is a blip on the radar. They will reelect Ted Cruz. They will reelect Chuck Grassley. So yeah, it might be fun and entertaining for the find her out phase, but they're not going to change. The leopards don't change their spots, as the lady with the beautiful banjo sings. And I'll leave you with this. My dad said something. You can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. It's who they are. It's who they've always been. It's who they're always going to be.